Jones versus Clinton got a lot of attention, but Jones versus Bush got almost no attention from the mainstream press, who at the time was too busy with Bush versus Gore in Florida to pay much attention to the issues raised in Jones versus Bush. The Supreme Court denied cert, so we don't know what the Supreme Court would have said about whether or not Dick Cheney was an inhabitant of Texas for purposes of the 12th Amendment. But remember, he claimed his Texas homestead exemption on his house in Highland Park, Texas in early 2000. He never released his 2000 tax returns. Do you suppose maybe Dick Cheney claimed he was a Texas resident on those 2000 IRS returns? Do you suppose if somebody lives in Texas, works in Texas, has a house in Texas that they claim the Texas homestead exemption on, it would be fair to say that they're an inhabitant of Texas for the purposes of the 12th Amendment? And if you were in that situation, what do you suppose you would do? What would Jesus do? Do you think it's okay to fly back to a place that you haven't lived in years and get a driver's license for the purpose of getting around the 12th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States? Isn't that kind of like lying? Would your decision be in any way influenced by how much money you might stand to gain? Knowing what we now know about Dick Cheney, let's check back in on Halliburton and KBR.
The first KBR employees arrived 6 months before the invasion of Iraq. They built the bases and maintained the equipment. While Americans debated whether to go to war, KBR was hard at work. The quality and range of services KBR provides to soldiers is impressive, but cost is a real issue. An audit by the U.S. Government Accountability Office of dining hall costs for one 4-month period alleges KBR charged $88 million for meals they never served. And Pentagon audits allege that KBR overcharged $108 million for fuel and billed the government $1.8 billion in other unsupported costs. The Pentagon terminated the fuel contract. As for meals, KBR says workers prepared food that just wasn't consumed. And the unsupported $1.8 billion, KBR says, is a paperwork issue that's being resolved.
There was a military spokesperson and she read from a prepared statement. She said that, well, we didn't give Halliburton all the money they were entitled to. There was $10.1 million that we decided they weren't eligible for because it was part of this cost overrun. And so I read that and I thought, poor Halliburton. I mean, come on. Somebody's got to go out and raise that $10.1 million that they should have gotten. Hey, you want to get some money to Halliburton? We're trying to raise money for Halliburton. Check this out. Raising money for Halliburton. All right, man.
Awesome.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
We take IOUs and checks.
Yeah, I've heard about this in Fair 9/11.
But see, this is messed up though, because the government owes them this money, and the government's like, we're not going to pay you this money, and we feel really bad for them because they only made like $16 billion last year, which is definitely not enough money. And we were thinking we could help them out by going around and collecting the rest of the money that the government owes them.
Oh, in the gas.
In the gasoline tank. Yeah, you got any money?
What's Halliburton do?
What's Halliburton do? To do things like build army bases, or supply food to the troops in Iraq, or a whole host of other things. Like basically all the rebuilding, reconstruction stuff that's going on in Iraq, that's Halliburton. They're making more money off of the war in Iraq than any other private entity.
Mr. Vice President?
I could respond, Gwen, but it's going to take more than 30 seconds.
Well, that's all you've got.
Well, the reason they keep mentioning Halliburton is because they're trying to throw up a smoke screen. They know the charges are false. They know that if you go, for example, to factcheck.com, an independent website sponsored by the University of Pennsylvania, you can get the specific details with respect to Halliburton. It's an effort that they've made repeatedly to try to confuse the voters and to raise questions, but there's no substance to the charges.
30 seconds.
These are the facts. The facts are the Vice President's company that he was CEO of, that did business with sworn enemies of the United States, paid millions of dollars in fines for providing false financial information. It's under investigation for bribing foreign officials. The same company that got a $7.5 billion no-bid contract. The rule is that part of their money is supposed to be withheld when they're under investigation, as they are now, for having overcharged the American taxpayer. But they're getting every dime of their money. I'm happy to let voters make their own decision about this.
What do you think about the fact that the United States population, the citizens, are actually footing the bill for that?
I'm not too excited about that, no.
Okay. And has it changed your mind about how you might vote when the elections come up next time?
I will definitely, yes it will, because I will definitely be looking into this, because I don't think it's right.
There's some people keeping the streets safe in Iraq. We're trying to raise some money for them. They're a little company called Halliburton. You ever heard of Halliburton?
Yes, I have.
You think they need more money, right? Because they don't make enough money. Oh, you don't think they need more money?
Halliburton, I think they have their money taken care of.
Okay, I thought that too. But then I read in the newspaper just last month that the government owes them $10 million. They owe the government like $212 million, but we're ignoring that part.
You've heard a lot about Halliburton lately. Criticism is okay. We can take it. Criticism is not failure. Our employees are doing a great job. We're feeding the soldiers. We're rebuilding Iraq. Will things go wrong? Sure they will. It's a war zone. We're serving the troops because of what we know, not who we know.
We here at the White House are anxious to move beyond the Vice President's unfortunate hunting accident. That's why we encourage the press to report other important issues the American people need to know about, such as Vice President Cheney leaking the name of a CIA operative, his stonewalling of federal prosecutors, his shady Halliburton dealings, his sweetheart tax giveaways to fat cat contributors, his call for expanded drilling to benefit oil buddies, his efforts to block campaign finance reform, his being in the pocket of big business, his allowing lobbyists to author energy legislation, his secretly crafted health care proposals which benefited pharmaceutical companies, and his manipulation of intelligence which led us to an unnecessary war. Dick Cheney, just a big bowl of bad.
It's a big bowl of bad.
They're trying to pay their stock investors, and they got a fiduciary duty to make as much money as possible.
I don't know what that means either.
For their stock investors. Now, what if that same company stole $200 million from the government? Do you think Jesus loves that?
Yeah, he
Jesus loves the theft? Okay. Well, how about you take one of my flyers?
Thank you.
I'll take one of your flyers, and...
If I had money, I would help, but they only gave us play money.
A receipt. All right, I give you a receipt.
I can't give you a receipt, man. You want the dollar back?
You can't get a flyer. You can get a flyer. You can't give me a receipt for the money for Halliburton? No, that's funny. They're not giving us receipts over there either.
Simply stated, there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use against our friends. Saddam has resumed his efforts to acquire nuclear weapons. Among other sources, we've gotten this from first-hand testimony from defectors.
His regime has an active program to acquire and develop nuclear weapons, and let there be no doubt about it. We know for a fact that there are weapons there.
Mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass death.
Death on a massive scale.
The danger to our country is grave. The International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed in the 1990s that Saddam Hussein had an advanced nuclear weapons development program. Our intelligence sources tell us that he has attempted to purchase high-strength aluminum tubes suitable for nuclear weapons production.
That's the Vice President's company, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they own a bunch of oil, don't they? Oh, they got to be making a lot of money now. And didn't they, like, screw over America with, like, overbuilding and overpricing and disappeared stuff? And weren't they supposed to fix Iraq?
They were.
Have they?
Well, they got $7 billion to fix it, but...
There's still no power there. Random power outages, stuff like that. I think they're corrupt. I think Dick Cheney's in control because George, man, he's just too stupid.